Good afternoon, everyone. Pediatric Center of Excellence, MCH, and iTech India welcomes all the participants for today's RDLS session. Today's topic is counseling of children living with HIV and adherence issues, and the speaker is Dr. Bappaditya Mondal, Senior Medical Officer, MR Bangur Hospital, Kolkata. Dr. Bappaditya Mondal holds a MBBS, DPM, PGD, HIV-M, and certification in LMIH. He is a life fellow of Indian Psychiatry Society and Indian Association of Social Psychiatry. He is a training of trainers for LAC counselors and also a trainer for induction training for ARTC counselor by Saksham Project GFATM Round 7 under Calcutta University. He is a visiting psychiatrist of Hope Kolkata Foundation and Calcutta Samaritans. He is an ex-psychiatrist of Antara Psychiatrist Center and Presidency Correctional Home. We welcome you, sir, for today's session and request you to start the session.
Good afternoon, all. We will start the session. Today's topic is counseling of children living with HIV and adherence issues. With the end of the sessions, we will achieve some good knowledge on the particular objectives, like what are the basic principles of the counseling, what are the social and psychological issues in children living with HIV, the concept of child-centered counseling and the difference between the psychoeducations, and the nutritional aspects of counseling to the mothers and the caregivers and the children, preparing a child and their caregiver for lifelong ART treatment and its adherence issues. And also we will identify the barriers of the adherence and adherence fatigue, etc. We also will discuss and learn about the process, how to disclosure of HIV status to a children on subsequent visit in our ART center. So first we will discuss what is the counseling. Counseling refers to a confidential dialogue between a person and a care provider aimed at enabling the person to cope the stress and take informed decisions. The aim of counseling is building a trusting relationships among all who participate in the child's care in order to provide the best possible long-term care for a child who is HIV infected and to ensure a good equality of life for the child. A good counseling should be an empathic one, and the counselor should be a good listener, and they should build a trust relationships with the caregiver, and there will be no discriminations or judgmental or critical comment during a counseling sessions. So, how the counseling is different from the patient's educations. When we provide education about HIV to our clients or the caregivers, that includes only some informations, and we also assess what are the basic understanding level regarding the disease and its pathophysiology. And also we try to understand their health related issues. On the other hand, counseling helps CLHIV identify their emotions, feelings, and their harmful behaviors which they are experiencing from the society or their family, and what is their stable mental conditions to accept the treatment, that is called the readiness to start ART, and what are the challenges they are facing regarding the treatment procedure and when they are taking the medicines on regular basis, and what are the emotional issues they are facing to achieve a good physical and mental conditions for their health related issues. Patient's education only gives valuable information about disease, its prevention and treatment, whereas counseling supports the CLHIV or caregiver to establish a treatment and adherence plan. It is customized, tailored, and changed according to the need of the client. Patient's education facilitates the confidence in the self-care only, but counseling, which facilitates clear thinking and decision-making of an individual. And as a whole, patient's education is incorporated as a part of or component of counseling. So counseling is the whole and patient education is a part of it. Usually there are two types of counseling we provide in pediatric care, pediatric HIV care. One is a standard counseling component as medical care where we discuss before or after the HIV testing of a still HIV, that is we call pre and post test counseling that we do all in ICTC centers. And also we ensure use of effective treatment facility which is nearby, and we discuss about the disease prevention and the positive living. But a specific child center counseling package is offered at ART center, which consists of the following. Number one, treatment preparedness. Number two, how frequent they do CD4 test and what is the role of CD4 testing, etc. Number three is very important, that is the adherence issues and the disclosure of their HIV status when the child will grow gradually. As the treatment of cell HIV are very improved before than earlier days, so we are starting ART very quickly to all child who are positive and showing the positive clinical symptoms also. And with the help of good DBS treatment and early detection in the pregnancies, the number of children living with HIV are staying for a longer life in our ART center. We are seeing they are growing from small child to adolescents and adults. And so it's a long time they are staying. So the time will come when they will grow older and they will learn why they are coming to this ART center and what is the disease and why they are taking the medicine. So this is a really a good challenge for ART team to discuss regarding the disclosure issues. Then the treatment support and the follow-up, which is very important because most of the families we see, they are not, most of the cases we see, the parents are not proper caring. Even they are died of due to the disease process. They are being reared up by some other family members or in a home or in some NGO, and they are not disclosing their status to the society. So we see a lot of problems regarding their treatment supports will come to receive the medicines when they are sick, or if it's not possible to come as because of their schools, so we'll collect the medicines, etc. And we also provide treatments in palliative conditions, and also as a component of psychosocial and emotional support, ART Center provides counseling to the child who are living with HIV and AIDS. Let us discuss about the informed consent for testing children for HIV. As per Indian law, consent for HIV testing can only be given by those who have attained the age of 18 years. Persons giving consent must be counseled in a way that he or she understands the information and feels empowered to make choices. For patients aged less than 18 years, there is some provisions. Number one, consent has to be given by the accompanying parent or caregiver or guardians. If the parent are died of, then caregiver or guardian of a home, they can give the consent for testing. And recently, a new law has been sanctioned, that is Section 32 of HIV/AIDS Prevention and Control Act 2017, which states recognition of a guardianship of older siblings, a person below the age of 18 but not below the 12 years, who has sufficient maturity of understanding and who is managing the affairs of his family affected by HIV and AIDS shall be competent to act as guardian or other sibling below the age of 18 years. That means an elder brother or elder sister who is more than 12 years of age but less than 18 years, he can be the guardian and can give the consent if any other family members or trustable or dependable caregiver is not found. So it should not be an issue that there will be no testing as because of no informed consent given. So this provision has been made that that is very important. It should be remembered that a sibling who is a brother or sister, if he is more than 12 years but less than 18 years and has good understanding, maturity, and a good sufficient maturity and understanding, who is managing the affairs of his family affected by HIV/AIDS, can give the consent. We basically find the following issues and challenges faced by the cell HIV. Psychological issues, sometimes they feel depressed, sometimes they feel very much agitated, sometimes they have other behavioral issues like their ADHD, they have attention deficit hyperkinetic disorders, they have conduct disorders, and some in adolescence some addiction related issues. Also, they experience growth related problems like due to the disease process itself or the side effects of antiretroviral agents. They may experience some growth related issues, and that can cause some depression as they are not like a girl may experience that she is not growing as other non-infected girl at her age in compared to. So she may don't feel good to go outside as she is not growing enough to uh, come in front of the society. So she may feel stigma and discrimination and feel depressed. There are issues like dependency on adults and treatment, like parents are working in as if maids in other person's house, and they are not getting time to go to ART center to take the medicines. So they're experiencing problems, and they are not able to reach the ART center by themselves as their kid. So medicines are not reaching the medicines are solely dependent on that caregiver. If that caregiver or parents reach ART center, only they will get the medicines. Then there is frequent changes of caregivers. Like initially they were staying in a mama's house. The mama used to go to the ART center. Later the child has been shifted to Pishi's house and aunt's house, and the aunt is now not ready to go to ART centers and not taking the medicines. Again, she has been put into a home, and the caregiver of the home is coming to collect the ART centers. So frequent changes of the caregiver may interfere regarding the collection of the ART and its adherence. Difficulties in communications. Childs, most of the cases, they feel shy. They are not enough grown to communicate properly and express their problems. In smaller children especially, they cannot express their problem. They just react with some physical components or some emotional issues. So that is very important channel for counselors and the doctors to understand what is the medical conditions the child is suffering, and basically their psychological problems. And also there is harm to maturing immune system also. Now the counselors has to balance between the client or the caregiver equally by providing counseling both of them, and make a stable situations where a comfortable environment, friendly environment is prepared, where child and their caregiver can discuss various issues and their emotional needs time to time. The child must counsel the children to cope with their infections and look after their health properly, and counselor also discuss and counsel the caregivers regarding how to support the children regarding maintenance of steady adherence and their health. So it's a concept that is called child-centered counseling. So it means it requires a trusted relationships, that is a rapport, to be built between the child, caregiver, and the counselor. It focuses on the child's needs, like what the child likes or dislikes, what it fears, etc. It is tailored to the child's development, physical and psychological, and capacity to understand. It promotes the child's potential and abilities, and it builds also the self-esteem. It respects the child's identity and emotions. It protects the best of the interest of the child, including the right to participate in decisions that affect them. Non-discrimination, confidentiality of informations always involves the child and the child's caregiver. There are some pictures. It shows the caregiver or the counselors are sitting with a child with a toy and involving into games, and they start conversations like asking about whereabouts, how he's feeling, and then starts with the story, then what he had taken in the last night, what which school he's studying. After that, the caregivers start providing or counselors start providing counseling. So rapport build up and the friendly environment is very important, and it should be child-centered, and it is called child-centered counseling. Next, the nutritional counseling. Nutritional counseling of the mothers or caregivers is essential for maintenance of a good nutritional status and nutritional rehabilitation of cell HIV. The mother or caregiver should be counseled about the following: need for additional food if it is required, some dietary modifications to meet the increased needs of the children, and the safe food preparations, safe food and water storage methods, personal hygiene issues, and continue feeding during diarrhea, fever, or any other illness. Counseling mothers on safe breastfeeding practices. Like mothers should adopt a safe sexual practices, correct and consistent condom use to avoid reinfection with HIV and other STIs during pregnancy and breastfeeding. They are always advised to avoid non-nutritive or comfort suckling by the baby. Always they are advised to check for and get the oral thrush and sores in child's mouth treated immediately, and practice good breast care. Recognize and promptly manage breast conditions like mastitis, sore nipples, and abscesses. And they should consult with the physician. They should cure that. Otherwise, the infection can prevail from that source to the mouth of the baby. They are advised, do not breastfeed the infant from the affected breast if it is cracked or there is boils or any infection is there. Seek medical help if need arises. Mothers to continue iron and calcium supplements in the first 6 months of breastfeeding. Hygienic way of preparing the feeds. Wash hands with soap and water before preparing the feeds. Use clean utensils only. The child should be fed using bowl or cup and spoon. Bottle feeding should be strictly avoided. So they are to be encouraged to feed their child with the bowl or cup with a spoon. It should be clean, or it should be boiled, or it should be cleaned properly. Mother can give any of the following types of milk, whichever is available to her: undiluted fresh animal milk, packaged undiluted single toned milk, infant formula reconstituted as per recommendation of the manufacturer. Nutrition and ART are very important with each other. So instruct the caregiver and child to use variety of foods, whole cereals, wheat, fruits, dal, lentils, green leafy vegetables, buttermilk with a pinch of salt, small frequent meals, plenty of fruits, and avoid refined flour, polished rice, undercooked meat, raw eggs, fried or oily foods. Sometimes we commonly advise in our ART center. Suppose so many foods items are not available, so we always ask like jaggery is there, and you can get the chattu. So if it is chattu and jaggery are mixed well with clean water, and some peanuts which are available in the markets, it can be crushed, and they mix together and make some laddu, and give that laddu in the morning daily. And don't forget to give that laddu because it is tasty, and it is full of energy and nutrition and vitamins, minerals. So you just prepare some ideas what are the locally available foods are there in their family, and according to their customs also, the counselors can discuss about preparing tasty but full of nutrition and such food items, and advise those to the child. Because due to the ART medicines, or due to some opportunistic infections, some child complains of loss of appetite, or they are not willing to eat properly. So they should be given proper nutritious food, not only proper nutritious, but also it is tasty. It should be palatable, it should be well accepted by the family. And also it should be kept in mind, it should be arranged by the family members within the capacity of their income. So, further advices are like drink boiled and cooled water stored in a clean containers. If aquaguard facility or other things are not available, store raw foods separately from the cooked foods because the chance of contamination from raw to cooked foods are very high. Wash vegetables and fruits before use, and serve always food hot immediately after cooking, not the old older one, and the cold foods kept in the refrigerator should be served to the children. It should be heated and properly served immediately after the heated. Avoid raw foods like cooked meat, eggs, and fish well because it carries so many uh, infective agents, etc. Counseling the caregiver, child or personal hygiene and safety. Always wash hands with soap and water. Soap and washing process already we know 7 components are there. So the counselor should demonstrate that hand washing methods to all caregivers and also the child regarding uh, the use of regarding hand washing. Cover the nose and mouth while coughing. That is called cough etiquette. They should know, especially during COVID time. They should use the mask always, and they should not be allowed to spit here anywhere. And they should wash the used mask or discarded. They should dispose the discarded mask in proper container. Cover all wounds and avoid direct contact with the other people's open wound. It should be covered with gauze, and frequently it should be changed. The use mosquito nets to avoid dengue, malaria, or etc. And keep garbage in a covered bin to avoid the flies to grow. Now there is objectives of preparedness of adherence counseling. Educate the child, educate the children who are living with the HIV and caregiver about the antiretroviral therapy. Prepare the children and caregiver for lifelong treatment and adherence. Monitor their adherence and give ongoing support to maintain it, and identify different barriers to treatment, adherence, and help to overcome them. Assessing the family psychosocial readiness about the starting of the ART medicines. We have to first evaluate the child's social environment. Identifying a clearly defined caregiver who can understand the prognosis of HIV and the implications of ART, its advantage and its limitations. That is, ART is a lifelong medicine. It cannot create any miracles, but ultimately it hinders the replications of the HIV virus, and with the use of medicines, there will be some side effects. They may come across some side effects, and that can be managed. Most of the side effects can be managed by the caregivers or the doctors of the ART centers in some severe side effects, they can be sent to higher centers for further management also. And few cases for long-term treatment of ART medicines may develop resistance, but nothing to get hope, like nothing to lose hope, because some other second line or other medications are there to fight against HIV. So this much discussions should be there. So its advantage and limitations, lifelong therapy, importance of the adherence, and adherence issues should be discussed clearly. The medicine works 24 hours in a day. If he misses a 1 or 2 days, the, the virus will start replicating in multiple numbers. And they sometimes change their uh, genetic components or their protein components to become mutation, undergoing mutations, and they become resistant to the ongoing medication. So, in spite of giving the medicines, they will not act, and usually it occurs in the initial part of the treatment. So, they are very much enforced, both the caregivers and also the child, that do not miss a single dose of the day. Do not miss a particular, just avoid the delaying of the taking of the medicines. Sometimes the child says, in the evening I feel tired, I will not take the medicine, tomorrow morning I will take. But it must be avoided. You fix a time. The time can be chosen by the caregiver or the child after discussion with each other, and take the medicine on that time regularly or strictly, because you have to make some pictorial diagram also to make the child and the caregivers to understand after 24 hours the activity of the antiretroviral the drugs will be not available, and the virus will start replicating. So that much time should not be provided to the child, and it will be vulnerable for developing opportunistic infection as well as destruction of CD4 cells as well as development of resistance. Identifying a second informed caregiver is also advised for backup if suppose father and also uncle both are kept ready as caregiver. Suppose father is also suffering from HIV and seriously sick and suddenly become sick, got admitted in a hospital, or all of a sudden died due to the severity of the illness. The child will be in a mess. Who will take care of the child then? So a second caregiver should be ready, kept ready. In absence of the primary or first caregiver, if fails, the second caregiver will take the responsibility of the child to bring to the ART center to provide the medicines and take care of the other components like providing nutrition and shelter, etc. So that is also very important. Assessing the health status of parents and siblings is very important, because if the parents or siblings who are as treatment guardian, they are very much sick, the child will be also affected, and as a result, there will be chance of missed doses, missed cases we see. Suppose mother is working in a father is working in a factory, and mother is working in as a maid, and all of a sudden the mother is unable to come back home due to some problem, and the father is stuck into the factory. So the child is not getting the medicines, as both are engaged into some work, and they are not able to reach the ART center. They are not able to take the medicines, and as a result, the child is affected and they are not providing the medicines. Assessing the families as assess to adequate nutrition and support, it should be done. Now, treatment preparedness of counseling, it consists of 5 components that we know as 5 A's. Access, assess. Assess means child and caregivers understanding the knowledge already they have about the HIV and AIDS, and what are the potential barriers to adherence and social support system. So the good counselor should assess in the initial visits with the after discussion or interrogation with the child and the family members. They must assess about all those issues. Next, assist. They should make a plan regarding adherence and the treatment. Next, advise. Explain how ART works and what is the need of the ART for lifelong treatment and what is the importance to the adherence to the ART and follow-up visits. That is the advice every time, every visit they should be provided. Now next is arrange. Arrange means it, the required investigations and the referrals to be done for the betterment of the child. Suppose the child can be tagged with a orphan home when the parents are not providing enough nutrition, they can be kept in an NGO who is providing that nutrition. Suppose the child is suffering from some OI, now the arrangement should be made to send to pediatrician for clinical review. If the child is advised to get admitted, arrange admission procedure to the pediatric setup for proper treatment, etc. So these required investigations and referrals are the arrangement to be done by the ART teams. And finally, make the child and the caregiver agreed upon the treatment adherence plan and 100% adherence to the treatment. That is very important. 100% adherence agreement to be evaluated by discussions and understanding with the patient and the patient, children and the child children's caregiver. It is the art and it is the skill to be prepared by the counselors and to be provided to the clients to make them agreed upon that particular issue, because it is one of the very, very important component that depends on the well-being of the child for a long term. So it is very important. Now, how to prepare the child and the caregiver for the ART? Explain. So we usually put some questions like what, when, how, who. These questions are very important. First, we will explain what. So the child may ask, what is the medicine? Why it should be given? What is the medicine's name? So explain the child what medicines they will be provided and what to do when the child vomits or has to go outstation. So that is very important. So what are the child? So clearly that has to be addressed. The medicines are antiretroviral agents, and that has to be taken regularly on 24 hours in a like they act 24 hours in a day, and they should be taken at a proper time, and that time should be fixed by the caregiver or children after discussing among all of them, and they should take the medicines properly. And what to do if the child vomits or has to go to outstation? They should take some extra medicines, or some transit provisions are now provided by the ART program. So they can prepare that outstation going plan, and it has to be shared to the ART team, and the ART team will inform the other ART centers where they are going by the source system. In a transit system, the transit option is there. So if the child is going to other state or other place, if they are put into the transit, we know that particular ART center will provide the same medicine for the time being. And they are always advised to take extra medicines along with, so that there will be no shortage of the medicines. And if the shortage is there, they can show their green booklet to the nearby ART center. They must be provided with the name of the nearby ART center, so that when they will visit the nearby ART centers, they will show their book, and all ART centers can provide these medicines. And if they are in transit, there is no issue. They will provide the medicines, and the child will show no miss, like it will be not a miss in their list in the respected ART center, and it will be smooth ongoing treatment. Next is when the medicine should be given and taken. A fixed time. It may be 9 p.m., 9 a.m., whatever, but the time should be fixed, and it has been marked with a red pen in a calendar, or in a table, or in a mobile alarm should be set to reminders so that the client will take the medicines on a particular time. How it will be done? The medicines will be given and taken, how it will be taken, how to swallow, how to take the medicine, and how to set reminders. So everybody are using mobile or smartphones nowadays, so that they can set reminders in the smartphones, and the uh, children the caregivers mobile can be used for that purpose, and every day up to 15 minutes prior to that, the alarm will buzz on, and the caregiver will provide the medicine. So that has to be set. Last, identify who will administer the medicines in children and in patients. That has to be fixed. Like, three family members that came along with the child. Now discuss with all the family members whom the counselor will think that the the person is having knowledge of HIV and AIDS, and the person is responsible and is good relationships with the client. That individual to be fixed, and the responsibility will be, the task will be given to that caregiver to provide the medicine on a particular time, time to the client. PRT activities like pill swallowing, giving first dose in the clinic or hospital, that also encouraged. So first day, when the ERT will be initiated, how the medicines are taken, the first dose can be shown in front of the caregivers to the by feeding them by the pharmacist or the counselors. They can administer the first dose in presence of the caregiver in the ERT center itself, and they can understand what is the process, how to provide. And also it's very important in case of, like we know, in case of children, ART is given in multiple numbers, and it varies with the weight bands also. When the weight changes, the child's weight changes, we changes the regimen, and all we changes the dose, the amount of dose of the ARV drugs. So it has to be cumbersome sometimes, and usually the caregivers makes so many mistakes. So it is better always, when you are providing the medicines to the caregivers, you draw the picture of the number of pills you are providing. Like on the container, you, with the help of a marker pen, you can draw 3 tablets in the morning with a black pen, with a yellow pen or with a blue pen, 3 markers in the 3 tablets in the morning. Suppose the ART medicines is given, and 3 tablets in the evening with a red pen, so that the child caregiver has clear-cut understanding, and asks the pharmacist, and it is advised the pharmacist to ask before dispensing the medicines at least twice the caregivers about the understanding the number of doses, when to eat and how to eat. That is very important. Now, preparedness counseling of caregiver should be as possible or before initiation of ART. Delaying ART initiation should not put the child at risk of disease progression or death. So it should be encouraged to start ART as early as possible. Must be provided, must be why it should be ruled out, and the basic investigations to be done. And alert caregivers about the minor side effects of the ARV drugs. So always we alert the caregivers, like yet with the help, after starting of the ARV, may experience some nausea, headache, vomiting, abdominal discomfort. Sometimes we provide some medicines to the children so that they should not experience all those things. Because we know that if they experience this, they get afraid of, and they stop taking the medicines. So sometimes we provide some anti-emetic agents or some anti-acidity agents, and some medicines that can reduce the body ache and fever, etc. So abdominal, and some vitamins, etc. So these supportive medicines are to be given to prevent the apprehensions and fear, which can be, we understand that can be experienced by the clients or the children or their caregivers during the during initial phase of the starting of the treatment. And also we should discuss about the danger signals of the severe side effects and the danger signals. Danger signals that includes the lethargy, not accepting orally, not taking foods, vomiting out, there's passing less urine, or there is lethargy, repeated vomiting, blood in the stools, and drowsiness of their concernedness, and with the high persistent fever. So, what are the danger signs? It is marked in red color as because the caregiver should identify those, and immediately they should bring the child to the nearby ERT center, or or the emergency department of a government hospital, and show the green booklet to the healthcare providers only, so that they should not be delayed. Suppose the date of the next date to collect the medicine is 15 days after when the danger signals are there, and the children and the caregivers are not aware of those danger signs. So they are thinking that the child is complaining, or there is some problems, but we just wait for another 15 days. So it may deteriorate the child, may lose the CLHI. So it is always advised all the counselors to make aware of the danger signals of red color letters, that is lethargy, not accepting orally, less urine, repeated vomiting, blood in stools, or drowsiness with high persistent fever. If these symptoms are shown in a child, they should not waste a single uh, minute, or single day. They should immediately rush to the ERT center if the OPD is open, or they can visit with their child to nearby hospital emergency, and can show the green booklet that the child is getting these medicines and these symptoms has been developed. Counsel that child needs to be brought to the hospital immediately if any danger sign is present. That is very important. Mild side effects will recede over time or respond to change in the diet or method of timing and medication administration. That is very important. Some parents are also very much conscious, and they always get panic. And if suppose if there is some reeling of the head of the child, they feel anxious and they rush to the OPD. So it is also avoided. It is also discouraged. Say they must understand what is the danger signals and what are the minor symptoms of side effects. If the minor side effects are there, it should be it should be discussed over phone also. So uh, so it is also advised they can continue they can hold the numbers of the ERT centers, and they can directly call to the ERT center and can speak with the counselors, even with the doctors, regarding the minor symptoms. And if the counselors tell that it is okay, it will pass over days or hours, so they get assured and they feel comfortable. And especially during COVID time, it is always advised that do not bring the child to the ART centers. Usually the parents are coming and they are collecting the medicines, and sometimes the counselors makes a phone call to the child, and that gives also a good sense to the child that they feels happy that this counselor Didi or Dada has remembered him or her, and making phone call from their end to know about their health status. So it gives an extra boom to their well-being, and it is always advisable to to make phone calls and understand if the child is not coming due to the COVID situations for a long period. The child should be made the counselor should make phone calls uh, to the child and their caregiver, and they should speak with the child so that they understand whether they are truly taking the medicines, or whether they are experiencing any medical or psychological problems due to these issues. Checklist for counseling on the side effects of ARV drugs. Discuss very common and possible drug adverse effects before starting of ARV. It should be discussed clearly. There should be, suppose he previously patient used to take efavirenz. And that time we used to advise, we used to discuss that if after taking efavirenz, it may cause reeling of the heads, and some neuropsychological components may be found. If, so they should be taken 2 hours after meal, and especially at the night time, and after taking the medicine, they should avoid doing some work that will prevent these side effects. And also they are advised to take adequate rest. So this clear discussion should be made, so that if after starting of the ART, the child or the caregiver finds that the child is experiencing some ART side effects, they will apprehend and they will stop taking medicine. Provide information about the symptoms and management of the symptoms, and give immediate attention to the side effects when the child complains, and initiate discussions about side effects even if the child does not mention them spontaneously. Explain food and ARV drug interactions, and provide asymmetrical on side effects available. So sometimes child avoids and they feel shy to discuss any side effects are there. Suppose the child experience some ulcers in the mouth, and there is pain in the mouth, but they do not tell spontaneously. So just ask if the child though is not giving direct hint, the counselor or the doctor can ask like whether you are experiencing any pain, like so much hal lage, do you feel any burning sensation when you are having your foods? Are you able to take the hot foods, or the able to swallow the foods? So in this way, in an indirect way, we can understand whether any problem is there. Some home-based care tips are there for wise and mild side effects. Like if there is fever, you give the paracetamol can be given according to the body weight and the dosage schedule. If there is ear discharge, clean the ear, dry, clean the ear with clean the ear and keep it dry, and avoid bathing in the pond, and tie and make always the ear dried up, and all of course discuss this issue with the doctor, and they will provide the medicines for infections. Like if small boils on the skins are there, clean the skin with soap and water, keep it dry, and you can use some soothing agents like lactocalamine, or some calamine solutions or aloe vera related solutions. So it will cause emblem. Take the child to the ART center in case of if there is fever and or cough, or without weight loss or no weight gain or suspected tuberculosis. We know the symptoms of the 4H symptoms of the 4H symptoms screening that we do in every visit, that is fever of any duration, cough of any duration, contact of TB cases, and failure to thrive. These are the 4 symptoms in cases of children, and we can suspect the tuberculosis. We always screen them, but also we will discuss this with the child, also the caregivers. If they also experience these symptoms, they rush to the ART center and get screened for tuberculosis by sputum test or chest X-ray or Mantoux test, etc., to rule out the tuberculosis. And then we always discuss about the acute diarrhea. So initially with the diarrhea, they should start at least give ARS, ORS, and continue feeding to the child. They should not stop. Suppose the child has started vomiting and diarrhea, they should not stop feeding. They should start ORS. They should continue the milk, breast milk, and the prepared milk, whatever. But they should not stop taking the food, and they should rush to the nearby hospital or ART center for further advice what medicines to be given. To improve child nutrition, include green leafy vegetables, ragi, jaggery, etc. in the mother's in the diet of the child that already we have discussed. So that should be included in home-based care. What are the things we can do for monitoring of adherence of ART children of ART in children living with HIV? Always try to keep all these things. Use of reminders, pill count, report by caregiver, refill boxes, checking pill charts, calendars, diaries. Also check regularity of child's visit to the center and adherence to the other co-medications. Suppose a child is having both TB and HIV. So you are asking about the ART medications, but also same time you ask about the TB medications, whether they are taking or not. And you can make a colorful calendar for the child and keep it pasted on the wall of the child, and it should be cut every day when the pill the child completed to take. After taking the pill, the child should to make a star or make a cross, so that child also feel it's like a game, or the caregiver should also understand that whether the child has taken or not. Now we will discuss about the potential barriers to the adherence in the children. There are different barriers and they come from different angles, like provider related factors, environmental and social factors, child related factors, treatment related factors. Child related factors, what are they? Basically, uh, we know most of the case the childs are dependent on the adults, and they also have their own dislikes and likes regarding the medicine, like taste, smell and color of the medicine. And there are some emotional issues, that suppose the other child is not taking the medicine and he is healthy, but why I am taking the medicines on regular basis, what is the hell I am having? So that can cause like reluctant to take the medicines and can refuse to take the medicines and refill. Using medicines to manipulate adults. Sometimes they take the medicines and uh, spit out it in the washroom or in other place, other back corner of the house, and even the adults don't know. One certain day, the caregiver identified heaped up small medicines which are stored or dumped in the back of the building, and sometimes the child can camouflage that to the caregivers, like they can it can be clear to the child, their caregiver or parent, that they are taking medicines regularly, but basically they are not. They are just spitting the medicines after taking them into the mouth. So that has to be identified also. And using the medicines to manipulate adults, that I will be explained. Other infections and medications. So if the child is having other infections and they are providing medicines, suppose the child is having OC and also TB and ART. So the child is taking ART medications, medicines for the oral candidiasis, also antitubercular drugs. So many medications, so many medications at different times, so many pills. There is number of pill bundles are high, and there are some side effects are also there. So that causes a lot of problem. Some caregiver related factors are like knowledge and understanding of treatment and its implications, misconceptions regarding the treatment, health beliefs, daily routine, nature and timing of job, attitude towards the adherence, repeated changes in caregiver relationships with the child. Those factors to be identified and to be addressed properly. Adherence fatigue, that is very important in children. ART team needs to be vigilant about adherence fatigue. It occurs usually after ART adherent period of about 2 years. Caregiver may be feeling tired of administering or supervising medications. Child may have experienced what are the reason for adherence fatigue? Child may have marked changes in the confidence level and attitude to the treatment, expression of feeling bad, being the one to take medicines among his peers, already I told, and symptoms of psychological distress, like child is suffering from depressions, anxiety, fear, poor performance in the school. So they can relate all are responsible due to these medicines. And if I stop the medicines, then I will be get out of this. So always there is enacted stigma and discriminations, and they feel that medicine is responsible for that. If I stop taking medicine, I can mix with all children and I can be free. So this kind of quality thoughts can be generated and that has to be identified, and for that reason individually depression, anxiety, that psychological components to be addressed, and they can be referred to a psychiatrist for proper management and individual therapy. But at the same time, it has to be enforced that stopping of medicines will further increase the risk of getting sick repeatedly, and they may feel confined due to severe sickness. Rather, if you take the medicines on regular basis, it will boost up your CD4 cells. You can go outside, you can play with others, and from the outside, you will not feel that you are suffering from disease. So that has to be counseled to the child very in a critical way. And there are some severe side effects of the medicine that makes the child fatigue to take the medicines. Next, essential to monitor the adherence to each visit or to the ART center. It has to be done very carefully. It has to the child to be kept, and the rapport should be built. And then some leading questions, some open questions to be done, and then leading questions to be there. Then we will, in short, we will discuss the disclosure, food insecurity, and other factors. Child-related factors of adherence fatigue, like I can't take these medicines, my friends are not taking it, it is only making me sick. This already we have discussed. So recap, ART preparedness and adherence counseling. Prepare the child and caregiver of lifelong ART. Similar to adults, give the child and caregiver the complete pre-treatment information and plan. Monitor the adherence to ART as well as the other core medications. ART pill box and or syrup bottles have to be assessed at severity at every visit for treatment adherence. Address the barriers to adherence issues of child, partner, parent and caregiver at each visit, and counselors should be alert for the signs of adherence fatigue in children and address it at earliest. Now we'll discuss about the disclosure. Disclosure of HIV diagnosis to infected children is a challenge for both the families and the healthcare providers. The most common barriers to disclosure of the HIV status to the children are because of the mothers, parents, and caregivers. They feel guilty and uncomfortable. They are afraid of the consequences of the disclosure. They do not know what to say to the child and want to protect them from the bad news. And they have the fear that the child may talk about their HIV status to others. There may be no caregiver available for disclosure also, as in the case of orphans. So, what are the things to be done? At what age should disclosure be made? It is usual to begin informing the child about their HIV status when they are between 5 to 7 years age, depending upon the child's ability to understand and with the parents, caregivers, guardians' consent. One could do this gradually until the child is 12 to 14 years old. Who should tell the child about the HIV status? Parents, along with the support of the counselors. As the child grows, the understanding of the disease changes. Short-term and long-term effects of disclosure must be monitored during counseling, and continuous psychosocial support should be provided to the child. Now, the different types of disclosure to the children living with HIV. Disclosure must be done together with the child and the parents, caregivers, and the guardians. Disclosures may be partial to or complete, depending on the age and the level of understanding of the child. Partial disclosure aims to describe what's happening to the body and how the treatment will help to resolve this, rather than naming the virus of the illness. Directly, no need to name the HIV virus initial phase, because it can create unnecessary fear and can cause some stigma, discriminations, and can show some reactions against their parents. Now, complete disclosure involves open discussion about the virus, infection, and all other issues relating to HIV when the age is attained. How to disclose the HIV situations? HIV status to the child, use culturally and age-appropriate explanation and avoid using the words HIV or AIDS. Break down the information to the child's level. Use interactive communication strategies. Repeat concepts over time. Repeatedly initiate health-related conversations. We prepared for the child's reactions. Disclosure is an ongoing process. It takes time, several days, months, years to get partial disclosure to complete disclosure. Some examples are there in among the age group is how we can proceed. Suppose when the child comes with 3 to 6 years of age, we can say, you are not well. If you want to play, you should be well. And for that, you need to take medicine. If you take medicine, there will be less sickness episodes in your life and you can play outside. So you must take medicines. About the age of 6 to 9 years, you have got a germ inside your body. That germ is making you sick often. To kill that germ, you need to take medicines every day. And the germ will become strong if you don't take the medicines. When the child's understanding level is good, like 9 to 12 years, there is a germ in your body. It reduces body's ability to fight against the infection. We cannot remove it from our body, but we can control it so that you can stay healthy. For that, you must take the medicines on regular basis. So, the counseling challenges in HIV-infected adolescents. Counseling challenges may related to mainly to the transition from pediatric to adult care, the choice of appropriate ARV regimens and treatment adherence, disclosure of HIV status to them if this has not been done by the parents, and also the growth and developmental delays. HIV-infected adolescents may experience the following, like delayed growth and development, often resulting in late puberty. In girls, there may be delayed or irregular menstrual cycles and stunting and or wasting caused by progressing HIV illness, frequently exacerbated by malnutrition. Supporting the family and the CLHIV, each family is unique with the different strategies, strength and coping skills. Parents, caregivers go through various emotional difficulties, especially for issues related to stopping ART and the terminal stages of disease. Families need to support from the time of the diagnosis to treatment and for the palliative care or terminal care end of life. Open communication with the dying child is based with the support from counselors, psychologists, community-based organizations and other resources and use of play materials. So the key message is, at the end of the session, we will get the aim of counseling is to build a trusting relationships among all who participated in the child's care. Bottle feeding should be strictly avoided in case of parents, caregivers opt for exclusive replacement feeding. Preparedness counseling of caregiver should begin as soon as possible and before initiation of ART. Counselors should be allowed for the sign of adherence fatigue in children. Disclosures must be done together with the child and the parents, caregivers, guardian. CLHV requires ongoing psychological support regarding of when their HIV status is disclosed to them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Participants can now unmute themselves if they have any questions. Anybody would like to ask any question? Oh, sir, I don't think there are any questions.
Okay.
Thank you for the informative session, sir, and thank you to the participants for patient listening. We'll end the session now. Thank you.